Hello and welcome to this special Ultimate Physio product which is called Fill Your Pilates Classes. So today we're going to be talking about doing just that, which is the way that you're going to fill your clinic with lots of high value, great Pilates customers through a process that I've refined over the last couple of years. So this is where you want to be. So the younger lady down in front is Sarah Jane, who is our Pilates instructor. And the ladies in the photo are a whole load of her favourite clients who are ideal clients both to Pilates and to our clinic. They're raving fans who love Sarah Jane and they talk about her in our community, on social media, and they really like spending time with each other as well. And they create a really nice feel in and around our clinic, and this is exactly what I've been trying to create with our Pilates system for the last few years. So I'm looking forward to introducing you to some of the concepts as to how we achieve this and how you might do it for your own clinic. Okay, let's get started. So today's workshop is called Fill Your Pilates Classes. So this is the itinerary we're going to go through. So we're going to talk about where you're at right now with your Pilates offering and what might be working for you and what might not be. We're going to talk about where do you need to be, so what does the ideal situation look like for you in your clinic when you're offering a Pilates service. We're then going to go through the 7 problems that clinic owners make when they're setting up a Pilates service, and I can tell you about this because I've made them all and I've made pretty big errors as well. Then we're going to talk about how you actually fill your Pilates classes, and I'm going to introduce you to the Ultimate Physio Pilates system, which is a step-by-step system which takes you through from the client all the way to the Pilates instructor. So the 5th thing we're going to go through is a case study, which is talking about what worked in my clinic, both before and after implementing the Ultimate Physio Pilates system. And then finally, I'm going to take you through looking under the hood, which is a practical demonstration of some of the components of the Ultimate Physio Pilates system, and that's going to be in a second video separate from this one. Okay, so where are you guys at now with Pilates at your clinic? So this is where I tended to start years ago. So we first started offering Pilates about 5 or 6 years ago when a physio came along who was interested in offering the service. And it was starting to get quite popular amongst the mainstream, and some clinics had been doing it for 10 years, but we were, I would say, a late adopter of Pilates service. So where are you at now? You'll take anyone in your Pilates class. It doesn't really matter. They could be young, old, male, female, they could be mums, they could be older people. As long as they're interested in doing Pilates, it doesn't really matter, and this is where part of the problem lies. There's a high chance that if you're a normal musculoskeletal physio clinic that your Pilates is run part-time by a physio. So they do a few hours or a few classes. They've done some training and they do a really good job, but it's not the bulk of what they do. I find that in most clinics too, Pilates tends to be a service that lends itself to being after hours. So a lot of your clients either want to come before work or after work, weekends, generally at times that your physio has been working all day and then they've got to run some Pilates classes afterwards. So it makes it a very long day for them. They can be quite tired. And I find that even though they give their all, subliminally they feel like Pilates is the type of thing that does actually drain them quite a bit. Now, when your participants come, they're either paying session to session or they're buying some packs, like a 10-pack where you discount, or session to session. Obviously they're paying a rate where they can claim on their health insurance. Yeah, a lot of people who come to Pilates will cancel the same day or worse still within an hour of their appointment because they don't view it the same as their physio consultations in terms of value. So, you know, while they highly value the physio consultation and they don't want to miss it, Pilates is like going to the gym where if they don't feel like going, they won't go. And then they'll cancel at late notice. And there's also a fair bit of admin work involved in these Pilates clients in terms of issuing them health insurance receipts and things like that. I found in the past that with my physios, it was actually more lucrative for my physios to be doing normal consultations than running Pilates classes. So at their normal hourly rate of approximately $150 to $200. The classes would need to be full to get anywhere near that, and if one or two people missed a class, you can't cancel a class and you're running a half full class, and they might as well be seeing clients. The way that I was viewing Pilates as a clinic owner in my clinic was that it was a nice to have, which meant that it wasn't something that I was professional about. So I added on the Pilates service, I put a physio in charge of it. I wasn't really having that much to do with it, and so it wasn't being that professionally run. The actual classes themselves were great, but everything before and after the class wasn't being done particularly well, and that was my fault and my responsibility. We didn't have any marketing channels happening, so basically most of the people who would come to Pilates either walked in off the street and were interested in it because we had some signs outside, or they would be referred by other clinicians within our practice. So one clinician would say, well, go and see this physio, they take a Pilates class, and that'd be how most of our new clients came. So they were warm leads, because they'd been coming to our clinic before, but there just wasn't a large number of them. We weren't sure how to introduce people to our Pilates service, so this is just what I spoke about. So in your clinic, you might find that the only people that do Pilates either ask about it themselves proactively, or they're referred by one of your existing team. When people are coming to your clinic for Pilates, they tend to stay for a while, especially when they're really valuing that service initially and benefiting from the relief they get when they're trying to get over back pain and injuries. But as soon as the back pain goes away, they tend to drop off because they don't value the service as much. And finally, I found that especially in my clinic, Pilates wasn't highly profitable, and you might find in your clinic where physio is bringing in the bulk of the revenue, which is generally more than 80% of the revenue, that Pilates is only making up a very small percentage of that. Okay, so where do you need to be in terms of the Pilates service offered at your clinic? So you need to be in a situation where Pilates is highly targeted towards your ideal client. So it's really lovely when you have a whole load of ideal clients in your clinic. You need to be in a situation where Pilates can be run by a physio, by an EP, or by an instructor who is dedicated to Pilates. It's great to be in a position where your Pilates classes are offered both during and after business hours. So not only after hours, but during the day when most people want to work. It's great to be in a position where most clients are buying packs, or they're on VIP direct debit memberships. And this is the highest level of Pilates client, who's someone who's on a VIP direct debit membership, and we'll talk more about that. You need to have a system that prevents cancellations, so absolutely minimizes cancellations and the inconvenience to your instructors and your admin team. You need to be in a position where the Pilates classes provide an opportunity and scope for either EPs or instructors, not just physios, because this will allow growth, and practically this will allow you to employ Pilates instructors at a lower wage than you would pay a physio. You need a professional system that can work independently of you, but my criteria for that is you have to set up the system. And then the system is run by your admin team and your instructors. You need an endless funnel of clients. So this is something that feels really nice, where you can get to the stage where you've got a proven method of finding and buying clients. You need a tried and tested induction process, which gives you the greatest chance of leading a client through the process of not even knowing you exist, to finding you, to doing the induction, to going into a class. And you want this system to be bulletproof, so you get as many people going from leads to class participants who are happy as possible. And you want the right people in the classes. You want your participants forming a community and continuing long term. So they love spending time with the instructor, they love spending time with each other, and they view it as something more than just a discretionary spend like they would going to the gym. And you need Pilates to be a highly profitable service for open gym type spaces in your clinic. So if you've got a spare floor, if you've got a spare gym, if you've got a space that's not a consulting room that's being underutilized, Pilates is a lovely service to be able to put into such a space. So next I'm going to talk to you about the 7 problems that clinic owners are making with Pilates. Now I'll go fairly quickly on this. So the first problem we make is we don't have an ideal client. As I've said, Pilates is for anyone and everyone, and what this results in is classes full of people who really don't connect with each other. Second problem you make as a clinic owner is you don't have any strategy. So your goal is to get someone, train them up to do Pilates, find clients from somewhere and have admin look after them. You don't have an overall strategy for what you actually want to achieve. The third problem, and this is probably the most common, is you don't have an offer. Or if you do have an offer, it is very weak. And we'll go into this. And an offer is what attracts clients to do Pilates at your clinic in the first place, and it needs to be strong. You have the wrong person instructing. So if you're relying on only physios who are predominantly treating clients in your clinic to have full caseloads of happy and excited Pilates clients, then you're kidding yourself, because the physio will be concentrating more on their consultations and filling their books with clients for their normal physio work. You don't have any marketing, and if you do have marketing, it's scattergun, it's done poorly, it's not tracked and tested and measured, and you're not refining it all the time, and you don't understand who your ideal client is. So you're marketing to someone who you're not really sure who they are and what they want to achieve out of Pilates. The sixth mistake is you have a poor induction process for your new clients, and this is a mistake that we used to make, where someone would contact us and say, I want to start Pilates, and we offered a free class. So the first thing they would do is they would go into a class, and this didn't work very well. So most of us in our clinics do a really poor induction, and we need to do something to make this better, which is what I will explain. And the seventh problem that we're making is we're not giving our Pilates clients a reason to stay with us. So as I said before, if most of your clients are coming because they've got back pain and they're improving, they've been referred into Pilates, they'll stay as long as it takes to get rid of their back pain, and then they'll leave and they'll go and do something else. So these are the mistakes that clinic owners are making with your Pilates services. So guys, how do you actually fill your Pilates classes? So I've designed something which I've called the Ultimate Physio Pilates System, and that's what I'm actually going to take you through, and it answers all those problems that we just discussed. So the Ultimate Physio Pilates System is a 7-step system which takes you from someone not even knowing they want to do Pilates to them being a raving fan of Pilates at your clinic. So the Ultimate Physio Pilates System focuses on 7 different areas. The first area is the ideal client. The second area is the strategy. The third area is the offer. The fourth area is the ultimate instructor. The fifth area is the funnel. The sixth area is the induction. And the seventh area is the community. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, and this is the Ultimate Physio Pilates System. Okay, so let's talk about the ideal client. So as hard as it is, in physio clinics we treat males, females, young and old, and people of all ages and types and body shapes and problems. And when I've spoken to physio clinic owners in the past, one thing we often have trouble around the area of niching, which is choosing a particular client and focusing only on them. So our Pilates service used to be very broad. We'd accept men and women, young and old, and we'd have these classes full of people that really have nothing in common. So I started thinking about the ideal client in our Pilates system. Now the name of our ideal client is Sharon. So Sharon is a female who lives in our region. Sharon is mid-50s, so she's 55. She has had a back injury and it's getting better. She doesn't like gyms, so she doesn't like to go into places where people are looking at themselves in the mirror and sweating, and she doesn't like those big blokes who are in the weights area. So she's a little bit intimidated, not that confident in her body. Sharon's on Facebook all the time, so she's always looking around and reading articles about health and trying to find things she can do to get herself healthy. And there's a high chance that Sharon was a client of our clinic in the past. Now, what's the benefit of me knowing all this? I know that I want to fill a class with Sharons. So I've said that the age range is 45 to 65. So I've found that the younger Pilates niche, which is generally ladies aged under 40, they tend to want to do the fitness Pilates, the studio Pilates, and go to the gym. But the ideal client of our physio clinic is a woman aged 50 to 65, and I've found that targeting this particular client, she is very reliable, she's very appreciative for the help, she gets good results fast, she tends to be very dedicated and turns up every week. She tends to not be working full time. She tends to have enough money to be able to keep on going. And she's also an influencer in her community where she talks to her friends, she talks to her family, she gets her friends to come along and she gets her family to come along and use all the different services in your clinic. I also find that women in this age range, there's a lot in the media at the minute about ladies over 50 being forgotten about by society. So I find I really enjoy interacting with females aged between 45 and 65 because they've got a significant number of general health problems that are holding them back from achieving what they want in life. The things that tend to be very important to them are their health, their family, and especially if they have grandchildren. So a good motivation for the 45 to 65-year-old woman is the ability to get strong and fit so she can pick up her grandkids, go on holiday with them and look after them and all those sorts of things. So I've found that our ideal client is Sharon, who's aged in her 50s. Now, in your physio clinic, I believe there would be hundreds, if not thousands, of Sharons on your books who would be interested in doing Pilates and who would potentially be very good Pilates clients. Okay, so the second step in the Ultimate Physio Pilates system is the strategy. So the strategy is exactly what you are trying to achieve with the Pilates service at your clinic. So have you ever thought that you would like to have more different services and offerings at your clinic, but you're constrained by space? So the area that we run our Pilates classes is a 5 by 6 metre room, about 30 square metres, and we've got 6 participants, sometimes 7 if we're very full. So the first thing you need to work out is what will your space allow? So will you run it in your clinic? Is it something you can run in an external location? Are you going to run it in a gym area? Are you going to have a dedicated space for Pilates? How are you going to set it up? With respect to your instructor, so is your instructor going to be a physio? Are they going to be an EP, or are they going to be a studio Pilates instructor who's qualified but doesn't have APRA registration, so they're not going to be able to bill under insurance? Obviously, if you're wanting your physio to be a Pilates instructor, they're going to be constrained by their availability based on the number of consultations they're doing, or they could be a dedicated physio Pilates instructor. An EP, it could be the same. They could have a normal caseload of clients, or they could be a dedicated instructor. And I've found myself that hiring an instructor who is not a physio or an EP has actually worked quite well, even though people can't claim on their health insurance. And I'll speak more about this when I talk about the instructor. Your strategy needs to include how many classes you want a week, and this can be either based on a goal or this can be based on availability of the space. It's obviously based on what else you're using your space for, so that's quite important. I like to work backwards for a target revenue as well in terms of your strategy. So my goal with my current instructor is to have her, she's a studio Pilates instructor. My immediate goal to achieve this year is having her bring in 100 grand for the year, which is $2 grand a week. And she's actually almost there after only 3 months. So we're going to have to reassess that goal. So what's your target revenue? And obviously based into the revenue, you've got the costs of your instructor and marketing as well. As part of your strategy, you're going to have to build a new client funnel. So you've got to get your clients from somewhere, and I'm going to go into an automated version of how you do that today because there's obviously a couple of different ways to get new clients. So you can run a campaign within your clinic to existing clients. So last year we did a free Pilates week, and we marketed this to our existing database on Facebook and on MailChimp, and this did work quite well. But there were a few things that we hadn't learned at the time that we could do a whole lot better now in terms of the induction process. So I would suggest that your new client funnel is based on new leads from an electronic source like Google or Facebook, or internal client, either referrals or campaigns. So that could be your email database, or that could be referrals from other clinicians within your practice, or the physio who might be taking the class themselves. So I believe a good goal as part of this strategy is to have as many clients as possible on a weekly direct debit membership. So of the 3 different levels of involvement with Pilates is your casual classes, your packs, where they buy, say, a 10-pack or a 20-pack or a 50-pack, or a weekly direct debit membership where money will come out of their bank account every week and they just keep coming. So my goal in my clinic is to get as many clients as possible on a weekly direct debit membership. So an example of this strategy is if you charge $50 a week for unlimited Pilates on a membership, and you want to hit that target of $2,000 a week in revenue, then you need 40 members to fulfill this. So 40 times 50 equals 2,000. So it's really good to know how many members you actually need to try and hit a revenue target, and this is something I would suggest that you look into. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is what is your offer. So if you're trying to attract a new client to a service, unlike physio where they hurt their back and they just want to get in today and get their back seen to, for Pilates you tend to need an offer. So your offer needs to fulfill a few criteria. So your offer needs to be strong. So a strong offer is something that people look at it and they say, oh wow, there's a really low barrier to entry, so they don't have to think long and hard about the decision. So an example is in our profession, we've traditionally offered quite weak offers, so come for 10% off a physio consultation. Most people couldn't be bothered. But if you get a free consultation, there's really not a lot to lose because you're not spending any money, so you're a lot more inclined to attend. So I've found in the past, we do a free initial offer, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about the offer later on. But other options are to run at half price or no gap. So half price offers tend to work quite well. Obviously it won't bring you as many leads as free, but it can reduce your costs. And a no gap offer is really good if you're targeting someone who specifically has health cover and they would be seeing either a physio or an EP for which the service is claimable. Because when you say no gap, if someone doesn't have health insurance, they don't know what that means. Now, one of the important concepts to consider around the concept of an offer is this acquisition cost versus lifetime value. So if we have an offer, obviously you're having to pay the person working for you for their time for this initial offer. Now that adds to the acquisition cost. So if a physio costs you $40 an hour and you do 2 assessments, that's just cost you $40. But the way I want you to start thinking about it is, what is the lifetime value of that client? So if someone signed up to a $50 a week Pilates pack and they're spending $2,500 with you for a year, and you've had to spend $20 of your physio's time to convert that client into an ongoing client, that's a really good spend. So into acquisition cost comes the cost of your marketing as well. So marketing plus instructor cost against lifetime value. So one thing you're going to have to do really well is you're going to have to test, measure and track all of the data, the money spent, the time spent when you get to this process. And the most important thing that I've learnt over the last couple of years about Pilates is our offer used to be coming for a Pilates session where the person would come in and they would actually do a session with the physio where they're learning to activate their core and they're having a physical assessment. But what has worked much better is this assessment is not a Pilates session now, it's a sales conversation. So it's a sit down, one-on-one assessment with the physio or the Pilates instructor, and I'm going to explain exactly what we do here. And this is much more powerful and has resulted in far better outcomes in terms of people enjoying the Pilates offerings and staying with us longer here at our clinic. Okay, so I'd like to talk to you now about your ultimate instructor. So it goes without saying that the ultimate Pilates instructor highly values Pilates. So you can tell us in how they view Pilates in their life. Do they do Pilates themselves? How much training have they done? Are they talking about it all the time? Are they talking about it to other people? Do they have it all over their Facebook profile? Are they living and breathing Pilates, or is it just like an add-on service that they do as well? They've got to be well trained, so they need some qualifications, and I know our studio Pilates instructor was very well trained, but when she came to us, what we did is we assigned a physio to her as a mentor to help upskill her in delivering an even better service and becoming more aware of how to assess movement, understanding people's injuries, and I suppose being able to not only offer her clients a good workout, but being able to be responsive when they were sore or injured and establishing those referral pathways with the physios. So they've got to be well trained and they need a mentor within your clinic, especially from an injury management and learning perspective. They've got to have room for growth in their caseload, and this tends to be why I favour instructors and EPs, because Pilates tends to be more attractive to them in terms of growing their caseload as opposed to the physios who, most of which would rather be treating clients. You want your ultimate instructor to see Pilates as their main job. So it's the main thing they're doing in your business. It's not just an add-on where they're doing 80% consultations and then a Pilates class at 5 and 6 p.m. at night and on a Saturday morning, or they won't love it as much. Now, you also want your instructor to be prepared to do earlies, lates, and Saturdays, because this is when a lot of high-value clients want to come to your clinic, especially people who work. Now, if you're taking people from the Pilates instructor and the exercise physiologist industries, this is really good because these guys tend to be a little bit more used to doing before hours and after hours and Saturdays and split shifts, as opposed to the physios who are tending to want to work business hours. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is the funnel. So without the funnel, you don't have any clients. So the pathway is you need an ad, and the ad needs to lead the person to an induction, and the induction needs to lead the person to some one-on-one sessions, which needs to lead the person to a class, casual or pack. We can skip this step, and the class, casual, pack can become a class VIP, or they can go straight from the one-on-ones to VIPs. So as part of the funnel, what you need is you need your offer. So you need your strong offer. Free Pilates assessment. We need the offer to be targeted to the ideal client. So we need Sharon, the 55-year-old woman who lives in your area, who's on Facebook, to see the free Pilates assessment offer. So what you need to build as part of your funnel is you need a landing page. So you can either use a site like Lead Pages, or if you have someone who can build you a landing page, like I'm lucky enough to have, you can have one of your team build you a landing page, or you can even go onto one of the freelancing websites like Fiverr, www.fiverr.com, and you can ask someone to build you a landing page, and you'll probably find someone to do it for you for less than $50. So the landing page is where you'll direct people towards, and it will have your offer on it and a way of them contacting your admin team, ideally by email, to book in their free Pilates assessment. So my funnels exist on Facebook via paid Facebook advertising, where our ideal client will have the offer come across their newsfeed and they will click on it and they will go to the landing page. The landing page needs to be mobile responsive, as most people are going to look at it on a mobile phone. And Google, what you want to target with Google is you want to target the search terms Pilates and your suburb, or if you live in a region, so like we're in Redcliffe. Redcliffe has 50,000 people, so if someone's searching for Pilates, they tend to search for Redcliffe. But if you live in Sydney, I would be targeting your suburb and not Pilates Sydney, because you could get people from all over Sydney. And then they'll click on the Google paid ad and they will go to your landing page and they'll contact you through the same way as Facebook. And what then happens is through the landing page, they will enter their name, phone number and email, and the email goes to your reception, who will arrange them to have a time for their free Pilates assessment. Sounds like a pretty good funnel, doesn't it? Okay, so the next step from the funnel is the induction. So in the free Pilates assessment, which goes for 30 minutes, they're going to sit down with the instructor, the EP or the physio, and your physio is going to have a sales conversation. Now in the next video, I've got the templates for this, which I'm going to show you. Now, like we would normally do in a physio consultation, we go into a history, we talk about their injuries, but we're going to flesh this out a little bit more and find out about their exercise history. So what have they done in the past? What have they enjoyed? What didn't they enjoy? Because then you're going to quickly realize whether they're an ideal client for Pilates or not. You're going to find out about what they want to achieve. So does Sharon want to be able to go on a holiday with her grandkids and pick them up and throw them around, play with them in the pool, do all these great things with them that she can't currently do? And you're going to find out what her dreams are. Like, obviously a lot of people are doing Pilates to get toned, fit, strong, and be able to look good and feel good about themselves. I reckon a really valuable part of the induction is finding out about the barriers. So what's holding her back? What has she done in the past for exercise? What's worked for her? What hasn't worked for her? So how can we gear a Pilates experience to Sharon to make her really, really love it and become a raving fan? Now, at the end of this assessment, we give them a summary of their results, and the next step is going into a paid offer of one-on-one sessions. So at the minute, we offer 3 one-on-ones with our instructor for $97, where through this process, they would then learn how to activate their core, learn some body awareness and movement, and basically be introduced to the concept of Pilates, where after these 3 one-on-one sessions, the next step for them is going into a class and just feeling really confident, being able to hit the ground running, not feeling like they don't know what they're doing and they're struggling in a class, as so many people can feel like if it's their first time doing it and they're in with a whole load of people who've been doing it for a long time. So that's what the induction process looks like. Okay, and the 7th step in the Ultimate Physio Pilates system is community. So there's nothing better than a community of like-minded people who enjoy interacting with each other and they keep each other accountable. And if someone stops coming, it's like, oh, how are you going? What's happening? And they support each other. So in our community, our Pilates clients are Facebook friends with our instructor. So our instructor's Facebook profile is a professional profile, which is effectively their own personal profile, but they're projecting themselves as I'm Jane, the Pilates instructor. And so Jane's Facebook friends with her clients. Our Pilates clients are on our clinic's VIP group. And so whenever there's a Pilates class, our instructor tags them in and they can interact with each other and they can ask questions in the group, which is really, really good. And we have events. So events can be something as simple as the Pilates instructor started a walking group where she was going for a walk with the clients, and then they'd take some photos and they'd put it in the group to show more people they were having a great time and they were getting together. Sometimes they will go for a coffee together. Sometimes they will go and have a glass of wine at the local restaurant together. And these are all events that our community of Pilates clients and VIPs really want to get involved in, and they seem to enjoy hanging out with each other and forming these great friendships as well, all while getting fit, healthy and strong and being able to achieve their goals. So this is one of the great benefits of having a Pilates community. Okay, so I want to talk you through a case study about my clinic, Scarborough Physio and Health, before we implemented the Ultimate Physio Pilates system. So this is what Pilates looked like at our clinic, say 2 years ago. So we had physios taking the classes. There weren't many classes, but they filled really quickly because we had a whole load of people that liked the physios and needed to do Pilates, and they had health cover and they wanted to do it. So the classes booked up really quick. But the problem was there wasn't much growth in the classes because I think we maxed out at about literally like 4 classes a week because the physios were doing consultations the whole time. So there was no real room to grow. Now, because most of these classes were after hours and people coming to and from work, they might have been caught in traffic or they were tired or they just didn't want to come at night, especially in winter if it's cold or dark. We were getting a lot of cancellations, and most of these were last minute, so within the hour before the class. So yeah, this could leave a physio who had a full class of 6 doing a class with 2 people, which was really frustrating. We didn't really have a reliable way to find new clients, and we're reliant on the practitioners within our clinic referring people to the physios for the Pilates classes, and they weren't always the ideal clients. Like, they needed it, but they weren't necessarily the Sharons that we wanted, fitting in that age range profile and with a real desire to do Pilates. You know, our biggest mistake was we did the induction really badly. So I remember once a lady turned up, she would have been 65 to 70, and her first contact with us with Pilates is she walked straight upstairs and she did a Pilates class as the first thing she'd ever done with our clinic. And I felt really guilty, and that was the time that made me really turn things around. I thought, this lady's probably going to hurt herself, she won't enjoy it, she's never done it before. I knew the other ladies upstairs and they'd been experienced and doing it a long time, and I thought this poor lady's going to flounder. And at that time, it made me realise that we were going to have to do an induction properly. I I spoke to one of my friends who's a PT and they do it really well, and I learnt this process from him. So our Pilates service wasn't highly profitable. We were charging $28 a session. Most of it was covered by health insurance. So if all your people are coming with health insurance, when they run out of their health fund, they just stop coming. I think we only had about 18 people that were coming regularly. So we're making around $500 a week, which, you know, when you compare it to the revenue from physio, it's absolutely nothing. And it's probably just about break even for what you're paying the physios. So 18 people a week, not a lot of growth. We weren't having a massive impact on our community. Okay, so now that we've implemented the Ultimate Physio Pilates system, this is how things have turned around. So we have both physios and Pilates instructors taking our classes now, so we have a good variety, and we have offerings for people at certain times, people of certain levels of physical capacity or certain progression after they've had their injury, and for people with and without health cover. We've found that our classes fill with ideal clients. So we've got classes full of Sharons, and they're really enjoying it, and they're doing a great job, and they're getting great results. And so the environment around our clinic is really great because these ladies are really loving what they're doing and they're getting superb results. The growth of our Pilates service is really only limited by, I didn't have our space, it's obviously limited by our space, but our instructors' availability. So how many classes can they do a week? Obviously, if this is a physio doing consults 80% of the time, they can't grow, but with an instructor living and breathing Pilates, they really love it. And obviously the capacity of the funnel to bring people through, new clients and new assessments. But I can always up that by spending more money. In this system, because we're getting ideal clients and they're loving their experience, there's minimal cancellation. So I reckon our cancellation rates dropped by 75% because ideal clients want to come and they value the service more, and the instructor really loves the environment created too, so that we've got a really great experience. So we're getting minimal cancellations. We've also got classes running through the day during business hours when people who don't have to work are attending, and they tend to be very reliable rather than getting caught in traffic on the way home from work. At the minute, our Facebook Pilates funnel is buying leads for $25. Now, I've spent a lot of time and effort on this, and this is where the value is in the product that I'm selling to you that you're watching today, because I'm going to teach you how to do the same thing, and it's really, really beneficial. It takes a little bit of refining and testing and measuring, but you're going to get there. So you might be able to even buy leads for cheaper than that in your area. Pilates is pretty competitive in my region. Therefore, if you're one of the only providers in your area, you'll get leads for less than that. Our induction results in a 90% conversion rate from prospect to customer. So 90% of these people who email us and we book in with our Pilates instructor for the assessment, 90% of them convert to the 3 one-on-one sessions for $97. And that's awesome. And I'm just absolutely shocked and really happy about that conversion rate. So at the minute, we've been running this system for about 6 months, and it's highly profitable. So we're now bringing in $2,000 a week, and that amount is rising by the week. I predict that by the end of this year, 2018, that amount's going to be somewhere between $3,000 to $4,000. And we've got 45 people a week on various levels of membership. So we've got VIPs, we've got packs, and we've got very few people now coming session to session. So people are on the higher level memberships with us, and that makes it easier for reception too. And our VIPs get a guaranteed class time, and they're very happy with this as well. So they're getting really good results because they're coming, say, 2 to 3 times a week. So this is what things look like with the Ultimate Physio Pilates system. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, not on this video, but I'm going to film another video, and that's the next thing you're going to watch. I'm going to show you around the back end of my system. So you're going to see our landing page, the pictures, some of the text on it, what you need. You're going to see my Facebook advertising campaign, which is where we're buying leads for $25 a piece. You're going to see my Google AdWords and what you need to have on your Google AdWords to lead people from searching for a Pilates instructor to finding your wonderful clinic and your great instructors. And I'm going to show you our induction questions sheet. So you're going to learn what sales questions you have to ask to convert your ideal client into a regular customer and eventually a raving fan of your clinic and your Pilates service. So this is what's next, guys. Okay, so what you're going to need to do next is we need a really high quality photo of what Pilates is going to look like in your clinic. It could be your gym space, it could be your people, it could be your people with happy clients. I generally recommend an instructor and clients. We're going to need to build you a landing page. So when I show you my landing page, I'll talk you through more about how that needs to happen. You're going to need a VIP group. And this is something that I would like you to do anyway for your physio clinic to get all your best clients in a closed Facebook group. You're going to need a Facebook campaign, so we're going to need a Facebook ads account, and we're going to need a Facebook ad that's going to point people towards your landing page. And you're going to need a Google AdWords paid ad, and that Google ad is going to do the same as what the Facebook does. It's going to capture people who search for Pilates in your area and point them towards the landing page. So these are the next steps that you're going to need to create. The Ultimate Physio Pilates system in your clinic. Okay guys, thank you very much for your time, and look forward to showing you around the back end under the hood in the next video. Okay, see ya.